Okay, peace. All right, I set up this new stream. It looks like it's registering right. Hopefully, I noticed that when my microphone disconnects, I lose the entire ability to log back into it. There might be a way to do it, but I'm on the settings here and I don't see how to do that. So that's just disappointing. All right, so I'm on here. I have all the settings. Does everybody hear you good? Yeah. You know what's crazy is that it disconnected on the USBs here. It's a USB microphone, and then all of a sudden it wouldn't want to go back in. So just being a pain in the ass to me. You know what I mean? Sometimes technology is a wonderful mystery, God. But that's good. I have always been upset that the audio wasn't good enough though. So I will do my best not to tamper with my delicate USB cords here and continue on. The point being though is that I have a what I have today. I want to go through some things, but I also have uh last week was the word is bond session, and because it led into the show and prove, I thought what a way to build and think about our word is bond on that day because it was the 11th last week, and then going into the show and prove because it's one of the most important concepts that we have, you know what I mean, and that we live by, and we don't really take the time to really detail and articulate it. So I'm going to teach it today later in the class session, and the reason I'm going to do it a little bit later is just so I get more brothers and sisters in here, and we can really build. Okay. Right now I'm just updating where I share the new link. But we're gonna go through the day's mathematics. I want to hear those builds. I want to hear people build on them. I want to really sharpen you up with the day's mathematics because learning how to write your history in advance though is someone that is able to build on the day's mathematics on cue because they already have um, really insightful builds and principles attached to those mathematics so that they can apply it to an entire range of planning that goes along in an entire months and then years, those days, months and years. All right, so definitely throw your builds on the day's mathematics as we go along here. Now let's see. All right, so let's see. um okay, what else do we have in store? Again, the 5%media.com, you should be reading them. There's a lot of articles I have yet to read. I gotta tell you, I keep telling people to read, but I haven't. And I've been throwing up my column, and sometimes the column is something for you, the student, directly, but it's also for you as a student, sometimes for the future. In other words, some of the pedagogical techniques or what I was thinking of at the moment, though. So I think it adds on to give you a little perspective of what thoughts go into my head and predominate as I look back immediately in the class. And I've tried to put them up every Saturday after each class, and I don't do it Thursday right after this class session or Friday because I really try to get a perspective, what I was thinking, what I think about it over time, and what things I may have missed. sometimes it'll hit me later and I get more of a complete thought. Um, or maybe I just have an understanding that goes with what I was sharing, right? So yeah, don't the whole point of the 5%media.com is for it to be a resource, so use it just as such. And if you're interested in writing, if you have anything that you'd like to write about or that you would like to have covered, just let contact us through the website, you know. Okay, let's see. And when I teach this word is bond plus lesson, understand that because of how I've added on to it so much over the week, I'm still adding on to it. So you're going to see how some of my understanding, I'm developing it as I go along. So you'll be with me in this creative process here and in this creative process of building a lesson, you know. And a lot of the reasons I write these plus lessons is to make better articulations of kind of things that we go take for granted. Because one of the things that has always bothered me about anything is when things, whether true or false, become solidified by uh, activities, rituals, celebrations, commemorations of anything of that kind. Um, whether it's true or false, what you are commemorating, what are you celebrating, um, essentially what becomes tradition could always be negative, because it lends itself to a language that becomes a dialect, right? That's what we have. But when that language and that way of communicating becomes a set dialect, what actually happens is that you often could lose a creativity. The dialect is not continued and stuff. You know, I related to one idea. I'm forgetting his name. Let me see. I know the book. Oh yeah, okay. I just remembered his name as I was about to type the name of the book. Um, this is, one of the early music writers to write about hip hop was Nelson George, and he made an observation that was very interesting about music, black music particularly. It's all black music, but particularly black American music, and the mindset that he found historically for black Americans making music, and that was that they always would be on the cusp of making something new, because once it was embraced by the mainstream, and that means white America, it would be taken as theirs, really stolen, um, diluted, and appropriated, right? So one of the things that because of that, Nelson George said that black people always abandoned um, the musical styles and innovations that they created so that they could make new ones. And a lot of it isn't because of their thirst for creativity. That wasn't his point, even though that could be an argument. But it was, though, that things become appropriated, and also the the way of making music for Black America has always been about surviving as well, making money, having it be a career. So what happens is that you have to abandon what was great if it's not selling. You have to abandon the ethos of something if it isn't paying off. And I mean you as a general grouping. And what's interesting about that, right, is that the opposite can take place. The opposite, that's a negative thing. In many respects, you see the negative, even though you may see the positive in so many new type of styles of the thing about it is that the new approach to it is that the positive of what Nelson George says is that we always think of new ways, but abandoning the old ways also means that you could be abandoning the principles that the music, lies with. So the reason I'm saying that is that the negative about traditions, and let's talk about our traditions. The negative about our traditions is that our language and our dialect could become very rudimentary. It could be very basic. You know what I mean? Where people would say, yeah, I'm doing the knowledge, but they haven't really taken the time to each and every time that they say that or think that to really comprehend it and to really think about it. So what happens is that they're not really doing the knowledge. In other words, their knowledge is not leading into mathematics to actually question things. Is what I'm saying is knowledge actually true? Is what I'm saying is wisdom actually something that is useful? Um, is what I'm saying is understanding something that actually reveals a purpose, continues to reveal a purpose, is based on actual knowledge. You know what I mean? So the questions aren't made, and it reminds me, and it always reminds me of a quote from um, Jiddu Krishnamurti. Right? I'll write his name down there. Usually, is they write him as J. Krishnamurti, but I'll write it all out so you have it. And if anybody wants some of these books, I have a lot of Jiddu Krishnamurti books. But one of my favorite modern philosophers, of the 20th century, Return to the Essence in 1986, was his thoughts on knowledge and belief. Now, in his books, he uses the word knowledge the way we use information. Where not all information is knowledge, like a statistic that could be skewed, right? But so for him, you have to get past your own isms and realize that he's using the word information as knowledge, like something that is right and exact regardless to whom or what. And he uses the word information often and nearly always as knowledge, and use the word knowledge as something that may not be true. But reversing that and realizing how he's speaking, one of the understandings, and I'll put it in our dialect so we don't get to more confusion. He made the great point, right? That knowledge, right? That if knowledge is not questioned each and every time you have it, like, in other words, the point that you prove that something is true, okay? In our case, though, we use the most obvious, that the original man is God, that there is no mystery God. Once we have said that this is true, what happens is that we can also go into the tendency of now never really challenging to see whether it continues to be true. Okay? Um, and once that happens, the knowledge that you said you had now becomes a belief, or it exists as a belief to you, is the way he said it. It exists as a belief to you, right? So to everyone, Yazid and stuff, you brothers may have brothers email me. Always email me again, though. Bother me again, okay? Because once this ends, I usually onto other things and accumulating other things, and I forget easily, you know, um, unless you get on. And I deliberately do that because in my mind, I think that the student is the one that should be harassing um, the teacher, not the other way around, though. Okay. Um, yeah, let me go back in these comments. All right. Peace, knowledge, magnetic, peace. Infinite mind, peace. Infinite mind. I've been thinking about a lot what you said about the book that I need to write, and I've been formulating it and giving it an outline. So, it already has an opening essay and all of that. So, um, it's gonna be awesome. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Right? The only way to write. Okay, so it's great that everybody hears me. SW, I was 3 seconds from being a hip hop journalist due to Nelson George Sutis and DX21's approach to it in the 90s. I still got it with the pen, though. Hey, there's very few people writing about the best of the best music that is out there. So there can never be too many journalists. And it's all about having something unique to say, right? Everyone will do everyone will have their own tiger style, but who, it always looks different when I do it, right? That's the mentality that you should have, right? So email me, Yazid, Peace Supreme Scientist. Knowledge is, right, not used to be. That's right. That's what I mean. Yeah, that's what I mean. You know, you have to constantly test it. You know what I mean? Like, there are many days where I just look at the Supreme Math and I said, this doesn't, this doesn't have to be true. Why? You know what I mean? But again, let me give some itinerary. I see that Wise you gave a build on today's math. Let me check and give a little bit more of the itinerary I'm trying to get through today. Maybe we review some of the homework that's ongoing and running in the classroom setting, the actual physical classroom. The way I deal with students is that the more I know about the student, and I work hard to know about the student, the more I give personal assignments. So I'm giving you personal things that you can use and try to do it that way. Um, the more I get to know you on the email, then I would give you even more stuff to work with and to build with. Right now, I'm just trying to see if I could maybe put this on the go live on the IG. See how that's working. All right, so we'll be live on the IG. You know what I mean? That way, anybody that is usually on Instagram and stuff. Now that my audio is a lot better, um, hopefully these classes can be a little bit more useful than the strenuous work. All right, let's see who we got. All right, peace to everybody on the IG. I'm always honored that people are getting there. And some of the things I can't hide though for you those who are on IG, they can see that I got some materials back here. You know what I mean? Can't really see it though, but there's always something to be learned. So if you figure out what that box is, you realize that I'm always trying to learn something. Audio is good, knowledge magnetic. Yeah, yeah. Pretty soon though, I'm gonna hopefully it's good enough. You know what I mean? I can start dropping some bars. Froggy style, it's a good style. Frog style. Who used frog style on a mic though? That was Thurston Howell's man. You know? But okay, so Olu graphics, all right, peace. Dropping something. All right. Let me get into some of this itinerary that I said I was gonna do. That way we know what we're gonna get here. And that way the people on the Instagram could hear and do the knowledge to what I intend to get through in the classrooms in the classroom here. Go to 5%media.com, 5%, all words, 5%media.com though, so you can see the past columns that I've written for the Peace course. I write a column in each class every week. If it's useful to you, for those that ask though, when we go back into Allah School of Mecca, I will continue to be live streaming now that I have my super audio now. I'm definitely going to continue to live stream at least on the Instagram, so the classroom is documented. The class is documented, and people could go back and do the knowledge. Let's see, what else. Also, there's a lot of information. I would love people to have this knowledge for a long time, to want to give their stories, of how they got knowledge. Just that, to give stories of their region, wherever they're from, especially if they're outside of New York City, to uh, uh, send us questions about what you would like to have covered and things like that. You know what I mean? What you would like us to write about. It's such a high level. I mean, let me tell you something. To have the site and we working with brothers like Malachi, who goes by KOS, Day Sun, Saladin, Wisdom Body, right? Who else is writing for us? Star Mel, right? Who I'm also, I am, I'm editing his last and final book of his the Righteous Way trilogy, and boy, that's gonna be the monster. That's gonna be the beast of all beasts. That third book, and so it's very rare to have that many quality writers all in uh, one place, all with the knowledge of self, all with insights, and add on to that, or request things of us to write. You know what I mean? Request things of us to write. You know, right? I'm a little behind on the comments in the YouTube and also here on the thing. Let me write it down here quickly. 13 stud, right? That way you say 5. All right, that's the website. Okay, so definitely go in there. Peace to everyone that's in. Peace, Malik Low. Right, Dr. Feel. Hey, peace, brother. All right, have some real peace, brothers. Logging in to do the knowledge a little bit. I'm honored. I'm honored. Right. As this quarantine ends, the we'll be back in the school soon. Um, I'll be back doing my shows live and in studio. Been trying my best to give content and otherwise, and a lot more writing. So on that front, all right. So on that respect, for this classroom, I want to pose the homework. The homework has continued to be to make a list of criteria of what Allah, the true and living God, must have to be such. That means if you think or you're trying to learn that the original man is God, then what criteria must that entail to be proved, to be checked off, to say, yes, that is true? What criteria do other people bring to you, or you've heard that they say it cannot be, that we have to actually go through to check off? Okay, this is what you should be doing. All right. Um, so I'm going to ask about that in a little bit. So have that in your head and stuff. Yeah, just my camera. It's just all right. How's that? How's that? That way it'd be a little bit easier. Let's see if I could just have it this way. You know, I don't want to. All right. So how's that? How is that better? Better adjustment. I mean, all right. So we can now build. All right. What else? As I'm gonna soon be going through today's mathematics. And also because last week, and I was saying the Word is Bond Plus lesson, you're actually going to hear me go through its first stages, and parts of it I'll probably be writing as we speak, because I have continued to add things to it that have made it, you know, more and more detailed as we go along. So to make it useful. Also, I want to know where people are at, so I'm going to ask about different plus lessons that I've taught over the last couple of weeks, and see where you're at, like the T.O.P, the Triangle of Power, the Build Awareness Square, the B.A.T, Justice Curriculum, Living Foods Protocol, the Justice Build, the Supreme Mathematics Build. And some of these, if you're emailing me about them, the reason I haven't emailed them is because as I taught these plus lessons that I wrote years ago, I'm just realizing that there's a lot of typos, and I wanted to fix them up and make them a little bit more stronger, stronger, so they could have a little bit more usefulness to you. Okay, and then just seeing some typos that made me cringe. You know what I mean? And the old rule of editing. No, if you see one typo, there's probably 4 more per page. So once I can update these things, then I can send them out as they go along. But they're in the classroom, they're in the class files for you to do analysis. So let me take a break. I want to go through some of the builds, some of the ideas here that are being expressed in here, right? Dom Perignon, peace. All right, now just peace to God. All right. Um, let's see. All right, all right. There was a build I'm trying. Okay, Wise, you had the first build I saw up here. Was there another build here? No, that's the first one here. Wise, you said today's mathematics. I'm just gonna say today's the 18th. So today's mathematics is knowledge build or destroy all being born to born. So Wise, you wrote knowledge build or destroy all being born to born. Observation of addition or subtraction. Okay, that's a 1, and then 8 is the realization of what has been brought into existence, such as teaching one who is savage. This is a good build. This is a good statement. What I would like to see in statements like this is to see examples, as you go along. And for you personally, in your journals, though, you would be writing actual detailed examples. You know what I mean? Give it real detail. So that way it could, really be useful. Okay. But that's definitely not an incorrect statement. The observation, doing the knowledge to what's being added in subtraction, is the realization of what has been brought into existence. Right? Such teacher one is who is savage. Very interesting. Very interesting. Very interesting way of putting all that together with born. Holographics, you said, I see knowledge as useful information acquired through study, observation, and listening. That is what knowledge is. But how do you see today's mathematics of knowledge, build or destroy, all being born to born? Okay. Right. Real hip hop. It's funny one. 793rd. Okay. Nelson George was watching me dance with 3 ladies on a night at an after fashion week party on a roof deck party in the early 00s in Mecca one night. That's a wonderful fun fact, 793rd. All right. Hope that you were dancing well and not sloppy. Right. We will assume the former and certainly not the latter. Fly Flores, Supreme Nature Law. Right. All right. You added that, and I know. Thank you for that. Supreme Nature, you said I got 6 books out of the Power Cipher beginner book list. The Power Cipher 50 beginner book list is a book list that I give to students that email me. I'm going to put my email here because anyone would like to get some details, some ideas, and just know more about what this class is, the Peace course, political education and civilization enrichment, and don't see. And Malik Lowe, you said that many come from a religious background and can't or doesn't see the original man as God. The first thing that we want to tackle, right, when you knowledge the build, is also knowledge how they are destroying and what is it that they are not fulfilling, right, not borning. And so what you want to do is you want to be able to see what is the framework that allows them to say this. Is it their own personal acceptance of what they cannot do versus the possibilities of what they can do one day? And this perspective also changes the way people look at God. Sometimes it has nothing to do with what people are taught. You know what I mean? My brother Lee, man, it's been too long, Lee. Peace, my brother. Man, I miss kicking it with you, brother, going to hip hop shows. All right. All right. So Supreme Nature, you said I got 6 books out of Power Cipher beginner book list. That's the book list that I give to early students. You know what I mean? Right. Um, and if you email me, I can get you that beginner book list. And because this class is digital, many of those books I give out freely as we go along. Okay. And that's why keeping in touch with me through the email is crucial to the class. You know what I'm saying? All right. Ty to Dale, peace of the God. Peace of the God. All right. Appreciate you, God. You know what I mean? There are people that their work is blatantly to share what it is, and there are people that blatantly share what it looks like to be. And Jesus Heist, aka Tadadale, is one of those brothers that show you what it looks like to be the true and living. Malik, you said knowing that we build and destroy. It's an ongoing process that burns a new bring. I'm assuming you meant born. That borns a new reality. I use more herbal medicine to build my immune system and less in the food that destroy my physical health. That's real peace. That's real peace. You know what I mean? And then hopefully when the more that we build with these healthy things, the healthy teas, the healthy herbs, that we become as addicted and obsessive of them, of these positive things that we were with the negative. You know what I mean? Right. So definitely something to do with knowledge too. All right, let's look at more of these comments though, because all right, I've read them. We can get into start copying the rest here. Okay. Again, Supreme Nature, if there are any books, all of yous are in this classroom. Anytime that there's a book that you might want, especially if it's on the beginner book list that I give you, I may have it digitally. Okay. You know what I mean? No need to pardon yourself, Malik. If I really didn't understand, you'd explain it again. You know? So email me if there's a book that you would like, you know what I mean? Okay. Yeah, that's Peace Real Hip Hop. Starmel's books, all three books, The Righteous Way, are worth having. You know what I mean? Yazid said, that's peace, God. Peace to the God. Yazid said, having a proper knowledge of myself gives me the power to build and add on to my cipher a positive creation that will be born into reality in a tangible and practical matter also is useful. Again, a strong build. The statement is correct, right? You also added, without this knowledge, I will only destroy self and others. That's true. All true statements. The thing is, now we want to get them into a teaching mode. What is a teaching mode? In other words, we want to envision and visualize the people that are around us, the people that we want to teach. Who would we say this to? Who do we intend to say this to? So, and what would we actually say if we saw the youth and those that were there? What would we say to them? So, this is what we want to do. Okay, real hip hop, definitely. All right. Definitely Supreme Nature. Definitely do that. All right. All right. Some SWs giving a shout out to Tyler Dale and Sauce Heist, right? Peace to the gods again. You know what I mean? Right? You're feeling lackluster. You're not really getting your game on. Um, you're off point, whatever. Sometimes you just need that good music. You know what I mean? Nothing more like, the right music to get you charged up. You know what I mean? We're always looking for like some sedative or some drug. You know what I mean? Sometimes the senses just need a good sound. Right? That's all you need. Okay, okay. 793rd indeed. He was being that's peace. That's peace. All right. Quatis. All right. Peace, God. All right. Quatis said, knowledge build, being born to born. He said, the way Quatis sees today's math, he says it's information put to use that allows oneself to grasp the notion of how to assemble something. Very interesting. Very interesting way of saying that. Whether it be one's own life, a book, or even opportunity. And this awareness reapplied sets one on a path of mastering the process um, of further development. All right. Okay. Okay. This is peace. This is real good. This is real good. SW, I gotta agree with you. I see that too. All right. Information put to use, allow whether it be one's own life. Right. So now we put this information to use to allow one to grasp. Now let's look at it from a different way, right? I look at things from the perspective of being a creator. So you say knowledge build, right? And when we say knowledge build, what we're really talking about though is the process of creation, right? Where you're always you have a foundation of you, and it is you building. You building is what makes born. These are the only two facets that need to happen for things to be created. And that's why a born's born, right? So when you're looking at these perspectives in this fashion, what I how I see it is looking at the nature by which you actually construct all of your all of the building blocks that lead from knowledge to build. So if you do, you have knowledge and knowledge all the way to build. So see it like a process that gets shrinked to this focus of knowledge build. So now you've taken what has been useful in this idea, what has been the what have been the revelations, these understandings. How have you lived out the reality? How have you developed, how have you shown your power, and how have you realized it as an equality? And how has it made you become more you? This becomes all of the building blocks to how something becomes built, right? And so I see knowledge build as the accumulation, the knowledge of all these built up building blocks. You see? So the knowledge of these blocks is what is being born. Okay? All right. Definitely. And Malik Lowe, my children are doing great, so I can't I can't complain. All right. Definitely 793. Definitely see that. All right. Definitely. You know. You know, oftentimes we don't use the we use the arts to we use the arts to for enjoyment, but we are creators. You have to start looking at things as a creator. You need to look at the arts though as the way a creator is inspired by creation. So the way I teach it, this is what I teach. I teach that the creator, right, is in his own creation, excuse me, creating creation, right, that is inspiring creations, creation or creations once once more, again and again. Okay, so the concept that I've always built is that we are not, there is no creator outside of ourselves. This is what we are taught. But how do we describe that as the individuals, right? We are creators inside our own creation, creating creation, and that inspires us to create. So when we look at other brothers and we look at other sisters and we look at the things that they have created, we have to also realize that that those creations should also be used to inspire us. So if the foundation and building blocks of those creations meet our standards of excellence and supremacy, right? For whatever. And the thing is that when we look at the arts, when we look at things, we don't have any standards but like and dislike. Okay. Because what happens with people, this is an 85 thing. We keep things to like and dislike, and we don't put principles into things because then we would feel like hypocrites if now we create things, right? And they don't have those principles aligned in the creations. That we will make creations and they will be more easy to make without those principles embedded in them. And that's an actual fact. It is generally is an actual fact of generality. That's funny, right? An actual fact of generalness. But it is easier to create anything without any principles of integrity attached to them. Okay? That is why it is easier to make the great pop song and not the great insightful song. Okay? So that's something to take notice of, right? Peace to God. And once we start looking at things like that and putting a standard on certain things, then we realize that we have to put standards on ourselves. So now it becomes even introspective today's mathematics, because we have the knowledge how we intend to build. So before we create, we also want to say how do we knowledge what is the knowledge behind our build, the way we build, the nature by which we build, the formats, you know, the essence by how we build, right? All of this stuff has to be taken into account. Okay, so that's important, vitally important. Okay, you should be thinking about your own creative process. When we start to study, when you study how musicians make music, one of the work of my career is finding out the creative process, the nature behind the creators that create. And the thing is, one of the main reasons I got into it was because I wanted to create. I was uncomfortable with just trying to write about what others have done, but also create myself. And so I wanted to learn the nature of creating. And so it's important to delve into that in all fields. And then once you have figured out the fields and the areas that you would like to try, and I would hope that there would be a myriad of them, then what you would want to do though is really try to detail how you would do that. You know what I mean? Detail your creative process. And then you realize, well, my creative process is not strong enough. You know, what is your creative process? Well, first off, let's define the output. The output isn't just a song. The output isn't just you know something that you do. You know, like something that you made, whether it's a song or it's a video or it's tangible items. But it's also the insights that you have, the understandings that you have about life, the understandings that you first build. That's why when the father said, we build on today's mathematics and we put these principles together, especially in the double digit days, and we born them to see how we align these principles together and then relate it to our reality. Do you realize that he has given us an exercise that embeds us into the creative process? And the teaching tool that he just dropped is it's impeccable. It's impeccable. you know but and I could riff on the amazement of how I've always had this this joy in these last 20 plus years of realizing how the father made the greatest pedagogical tool, something that teaches you who you actually are while in the activity of using it, you were showing how that is true. Man, that supreme mathematics is oof, it's a mother, you know. So on that note, Mr. G1, he said today's math is knowledge build to destroy all, being the born. I see it as knowledge is the basis for creating or eradicating reality. Okay, I need you to build on this. All right. It's the word that you use that makes it mad intense. He said, knowledge is the basis. First of all, you use knowledge in the build about knowledge, which I don't want you to do as part of the exercise. I want you to actually define knowledge. So for us, I'm going in a roundabout way, but remember, each word in the supreme mathematics has a distinct definition. So the supreme mathematics build, right? Right, and the supreme mathematics definition of the word knowledge, wisdom, understanding, so on and so forth, is different than the dictionary definition, is different than the lay definition, different than the accepted definition that we have. You know what I mean? um it's different. So that's also something to take note of. Right. And I appreciate that, Malik. It's funny. There's a video from the classroom where I said that Inf Mega recorded and produced from my class and put on the Allah School of Mecca YouTube page, where I said that the father was a scholar, of a different nature. I had used that phrase, and he certainly was. He was a thinker. A scholar isn't somebody that just writes everything. But I want to go back to Mr. G1. When you said eradicating reality, it's such an intense word, though. You know what I mean? That's why Knowledge Magnetic, laughed, gave a little chuckle for that. But let me say this: when we say destroy in the supreme mathematics, what do we mean by eradicating reality? It's good to expound on the words you use. We'll find out whether they were wrong or whether they were right. When you build a destroy, when you destroy in the supreme math, are you eradicating reality? Because we would be eradicating. We always are changing the reality. So we have destroyed something that, because it'll no longer be as it once was. So depending on the perspective, we could say that we destroyed. But I don't know if when you say reality, reality often means everything, and I don't know if we eradicate everything in the world. You know what I mean? Strong choice, though. It's a good choice, though. I like you all. Remember, the classroom is the laboratory that you visit. The student should always have two laboratories. He always has to have one. The student always has to have their laboratory. They always have to have the place where they live that also can become at certain moments, and hopefully the way I like it, at any moment, become a place of study and experimentation and questioning and articulating, putting into words their own questions. If the student is always ideal, or the student is out there in the world, he has two laboratories. His second laboratory will be the classroom that he visits with the teacher that he has validated. And I would hope that we go through a process of validating and not saying, "Oh, Sunez is right and exact. I'm just gonna go and build with him." Who the hell says I'm right and exact? You go learn and make sure that I'm right and exact. You know what I mean? But the but in the words, like when you say things like eradicating reality, this is what I want to see. I want to see some. I'm not saying I want to hear you do deliberate, outlandish shit, but I want to see you. I want to see you experiment with the worth of a word to see if it really works. Because when you are developing a self-styled wisdom, you are also trying to express your understanding in a unique way. So you're trying to do two things. First, you have to have a unique understanding, something special that expresses the nature of you, what you're trying to share, but also honors the truth of the knowledge and wisdom that you have. So you're trying to have a unique understanding. That has to be different, because what the hell's the point of you talking? The other aspect is you also want to make sure that you develop a self-styled wisdom, and often that's through the way that you're speaking, but also in a unique vocabulary. Select words, special words, you know what I mean? Right? Be on your Raekwon, right? One of my favorite poets, as far as like using not just a really strong vocabulary, but also his the choice of usage, like when he uses it and how he uses it, is profound. And when you're building out there, you want to get to the youth, and by doing that, by having a unique way of doing things, um, unique dialect, unique ideas, all of that really gets across. Okay, but Mr. G1, you said eradicating, as in the removal of some unwanted reality, making a change or shift in reality. Okay, right. In this case, you want to define it like your reality, or when you speak to the brother or sister you're building with, their reality. Like, because reality is a broad definition, so automatically it means all of reality. So that's why. So it's not really the eradicating part; it's the reality. You know. Yeah, real hip hop knowledge. God is a great Raekwon track. You know, among many, among many. Raekwon, one of the most prolific writers in the history of hip hop. In my collection, I have at least let's see how much. Yeah, at least 500 songs that he's appeared on. So you know, give or take, right? Definitely over 400. So Malik, you said peace, DJ Taleen, peace. Like when we say wisdom, Malik, this is Malik Lowe. He said, like when we say wisdom, it shouldn't be wise words spoken. How about a manifestation of thought? Basically, don't use the same word to describe a word. See, the more that we live with things, the more that we'll see how we have used them, what they mean to us, and then definitely we'll start seeing an understanding. You know what I mean? Definitely, Lee. You know what I mean? Definitely. You know. But did I get? Oh no, I didn't get Dr. Dankenstein. Knowledge build, all being born to born. I start with the foundation with a continuous state of construction of my mental to manifest whole and complete thoughts. You see, I like that because that comes across a lot like a mantra. You know, something that you would say to yourself automatically in your mind. You know what I mean? Peace, mighty Calypsis. Peace. Um, that comes off so like a mantra. Like the way that you would build. You know what I mean? Um, so that works really well. You know what I mean? Because when you go to knowledge build, I the ideal way is that you're looking at these days and you go, okay, today's the 18th though. Like let's say it was right, Dankenstein, Dr. Dankenstein. Like you're looking at this and you go, all right, today's the 18th, right? So I got to make sure that I have a solid. I reaffirm my solid foundation of the construction of my mental, right? And so now you're focused. See, that's the thing about the mathematics. When you build with the day's mathematics, you're trying to think about how you will build, you know what I mean? And how you will focus. That's a very focused, literally a mantra that could be repeated. And knowledge magnetic went out there and you said knowledge build is 6 times 3, equality times understanding. When we multiply our equality through understanding, one can rule by righteousness. Hey, I see it. I see it. So how is the equality multiplied by understanding? You see? So when one reaches an equality, right? And they multiply it, right? In other words, though, they have understanding that they're seeing. You know what I mean? Right? This is good. Through teaching, knowledge, and wisdom, knowledge magnetic expounds on this build. Absolutely. That's a strong build. I like that. Going real out there and using building on it with multiplication as opposed to mathematics, which I don't, for gods that um have had this knowledge self a long time, I'm with that type of experimentation. 793rd said the table and jury with Jamal Arif, both off the second album, Immobility. Oh yeah, definitely. Those are two of the songs on that album with strong lyrics and lackluster music. But definitely agree with that. Right? Hey, peace out, Boogie. Appreciate you doing the knowledge. Anybody on the Instagram, if you have a question or anything like that, please let me know. You know what I mean? This is why I'm streaming it here, so that way people could see, and we'll be much more involved when we get there. Let's see the itinerary where we're at, though. So I've been getting people's builds. Okay, so I'm going to give a quick run through of a lot of these plus lessons that I've been building on. I'm going to give me a moment, ask your questions, anything you would like to ask me while I open up some of these lessons. Okay, excellent. Okay, let's go back. All right, so I have stuff open. We're ready on that front. I skipped your build, Real Hip Hop. Let me go look for it. Let's look for it. Real Hip Hop said, pardon self on that. Today's mathematics is knowledge build destroy. I see today's mathematics as a day to build knowledge from 120 lessons. Okay. Now you reversed it, but I see what you're saying though. I see what you're saying. To build knowledge. Now, how does one build knowledge with 120 lessons? All of the plus lessons, Malik Low, that I have in PDF format are my own. Okay, so in a minute, I'm going to be reviewing some of the past plus lessons and try to get an interactive of what has helped with you all with it. If there are any questions that you've had over time, with them, you let me know. Okay, so let me put this in some kind of order. Since we were building on the supreme math and alphabet, well, supreme mathematics of the day. Okay, Real Hip Hop expounded on his build. He said, "You build lessons by applying what wisdom gained off 120 lessons, the daily routine." Okay, okay, all right. None of that is untrue. Okay. These are all correct, though. As we go along, though, and in your personal journey, you want to do what you want to do is make sure that this becomes less abstract. All right. Some of this is abstract because it's not applied, and not because you're wrong, but because it's in general. It's all being spoken of in generalities, right? All right. Let me get back to. Okay, so the the in any of the reviews of anything that I've taught in the last couple of weeks in these exclusive online classes, has anyone had any questions about, let's say, the Supreme Mathematics and Alphabet build, the Supreme Mathematics and Alphabet build that I shared? All right. Knowledge Magnetic says, I would say we first knowledge 120 lessons. The wisdom is gained through living it out day to day in our day to day undertakings. Living mathematics when we see the lessons play out in our interactions with our cipher. Very true. Now, can you see? Can it be living mathematics when you finally take notice of you, when you knowledge your own build of how, and that becomes born, right? What happens when you're knowledging your own build? See, this is something. This is something to take note of, right? Right. But yeah, the last couple of sessions I built on the Supreme Math and the Alphabet. If there's any questions on any of these things, I haven't been giving that out because I want to update it, the physical copy, the digital copy, I should say, that you could make physical copies of. But if there are any questions on anything that I've ever said on that, let me know. Right now I'm just making kind of a roll call of the plus lessons I've been throwing out there, because some of them are crucial. Um, the justice build. Okay. The justice build was basically 10 things to take note of when we go through 120 lessons, and we're going through a particular degree, right? Because you're learning these degree by degree, and you would look through things. And just for those who are unfamiliar, the 10 things in this justice build, that's why I called it the justice build, was when you're learning about a lesson and studying a lesson, you want to first look at these things, and not always in this order, but you want to look at the vocabulary of it. Do you know the vocabulary? Right? For example, like, is Elijah using a word in a different way than is normally used, and things like that. History. Okay. The history, the chronology of 120 lessons is not linear. Okay. It's jumbled up, just like the Bible. Okay. And then also the history of particular places and things that are being spoken of. Okay. How does 120 detail it? How does it differ with it? All of that kind of stuff. How does it challenge? Right? The history of Yaqub and the making of the white man challenges that history. Okay, and that's two of them. So you got vocabulary, history. The third is science. Right? We must engage in the sciences that degrees is referring to. For example, we're going through these lessons, then we should realize that, wait, I don't really know mathematics well. I don't know the science of logic, although I'm being asked to use it. Uh, what else? Cosmology. We're talking about the origins of the universe and the origins of us. So cosmology. Then now, because of that, we're going into quantum physics and quantum mechanics, right? The sciences of what we're dealing with. Okay. The fourth thing was abstract versus concrete. What are words that are to be taken literally? Some people actually go through the 120 lessons and they're still dealing with the original man as a mystery, someone that will come and be the true and living. Right? We have to understand how we are analyzing abstract versus concrete. Okay. And also abstract words that are clearly abstract, like the cream of the planet Earth. Okay. All right. If we refer to the original man as the cream of the planet Earth, we are not this oozing wonderful cream, though. Okay. Unless you want to get fresh and dirty. Right. So then 5, the titles offered. We want to take note of the titles like W.D. Farr, the prophet, and things like that. This is very crucial. Right. And universal God Allah, etymology definitely would be in that definition of in that section of vocabulary, right? Definitely. You know what I mean? So like, you would want to add that in there as definitely being a fragment, because etymology, the history of the development of words, right? Like, for example, the word nigga and how that has developed in meaning over all these years, how it could go from one meaning to double meaning to many meanings, right? To consistent misinterpretation, right? So 5, the 5th was titles offered. 6 was today's reality. Okay. What I mean that is when you look at any degree in 120, these degrees were written in the 30s. So you want to see how it relates to today's reality. Like, for example, in the 1 to 10, we talk about population figures. These aren't going to be, they're not going to be very useful. You know what I mean? To just say, okay, the population is 17 million. So we're going to say, and, we're out there going out there with wrong population figures. You know what I mean? Right? Right. Absolutely. Right. Definitely. That would be the origins. Universal God Allah said the slave traders changed the word, added G to Niger. Indeed. And they also add, and then also there's the roots that say that it has roots in the word negro, which means black. And all of those are not incorrect. You know what I mean? Right. So it's important to know the etymology of words, and also get a good etymology dictionary, because etymology dictionaries like to cheat and they give you the history of the structure of the word, its spelling and its roots and its pronunciation. But sometimes, many times, they disappoint by not giving you the changing definition. And what you were really looking for was the original definitions that these are rooted, that the words that we're looking up are rooted in. You know what I mean? So that's something to take note of. So number 7 on the justice build, common ancestry, right? Um, as you study, you want to see how many ancient teachings also were teaching this and see the universal aspect of the black man being God in all teachings. And so that you can understand them historically and why we're in the state that we're in now. This is important in your studies of history. Okay. Um, I'll give you one example. When we look at um, when we look at ancient Kemet, when we look at pyramids, and we look at, let's say, the crowns with the, you know, the crowns with the cobra striking out, those are often interpreted as absorption of the sun. So it's basically coming in, like, through the, you know. But when we look at it, though, it also could be an extension of the original man's mind extending outwardly, because that cobra is striking outward, because the cobra in a striking position would be striking outward. But someone that deals with a mystery god as an archaeologist wouldn't be looking at it from that vantage point. So what I'm saying is that when we analyze history, when we go into these, understand that having this knowledge of self, we are also analyzing things in a much different way. And that changes things, right? 793rd said the original definition, interpretation, and impact of word worldwide at the time and through time is what the etymology dictionary may miss, if not mistaken. Yes and no. They're technically not supposed to miss that. Okay, 793rd? That's what they actually are supposed to have. What I'm saying is that they usually don't. They usually miss those details, you know what I mean? And leave them out, you know? So you have to do a lot of research. I, for one, usually recommend as a beginner the Oxford Etymology Dictionary, because the Oxford Etymology Dictionary usually has better, uh, better stuff on that. All right. Peace to the God. I see you, Jimmy Robert Allah Preem. Peace to the God. You God, I just packed up your book, so in a day or two, I'm gonna get that to the post office. So, you know what I mean? But that's right. You know, a lot of the most English words are Latin rooted, right? That's peace. Appreciate you, Sammy Washington. All right, definitely gonna keep doing what it do. Right. Okay. X13 stud. You wanted to ask. I wanted to ask about actual facts. Are we using today's math? Okay. Are we using today's knowledge build 18? Um. Well, there is no 18th actual fact, right? So, you know, when you build on today's mathematics, you're just building on today's mathematics. You're not building on any of the degrees. You know what I mean? And when you build with brothers that know more, then you would add more degrees. And if you see something that applies to the actual facts or the solar facts or whatnot, then you would add that in there. I don't have a digital copy of the Oxford Etymology Dictionary. You know what I mean? And I don't even have my Oxford Etymology Dictionary on me, or else I would have read you my favorite definition. Okay, uh, so it's really worthwhile having. But I intend to get that back. But if anybody has it though, but here's one thing. here's one thing. I don't know. I'm going to download it to see how it goes, but Google Play actually has an app, Oxford English Etymology. So I don't know if that will be as complete, as useful. So you know what I mean? I'm actually downloading it as we speak. So you know, as I download it into my phone, I'll see how it is. You know, and right. All right, I come in the name of Lord Justice True Allah. Lord Justice True Allah, peace. All right, powerful life Allah, peace. Right, and I see Divine Justice Mook just got. All right, peace. I appreciate y'all just doing the knowledge. Understand that these classes are all on my YouTube channel. They are archived on my YouTube channel, Sunya 7. So you can go on and build. Obviously, I have a lot of hip hop content there as well from my hip hop work. You know, but you know, glide past that if you're not into hip hop and hip hop sucks to you. It's all good. It's all really all good, right? And understand that if your music of choice is anything in the Spanish trap or reggaeton or the filthy pop musicians of the day that say they're rappers, then the hip hop content I'm sharing is certainly something that you want to get by. But Quatis got I just downloaded it. I'm gonna mess around with it though, but there is an Oxford English etymology app on Google Play. So I'm gonna do the knowledge to that though. I'm gonna do the knowledge to that though. You know, to see how if that works. Okay. Like if it has though. There's one particular word that if it has the definition of that word as it is in the country western for me, yeah. You know, that's where I'm getting all the dislikes from Dark Kim on all my music stuff. It was really the streets that got Dark Kim into rapping though, because he was always more into country and singing. But yeah, so definitely. But the etymology dictionary is definitely something to have though. You know what I mean? Because one thing that bothers me is that a lot of brothers build by the cleverness of their breakdown of a word. But sometimes a word breaks down perfectly in your mind, like, oh, if you break down this word, it means this and that. And a lot of times that's not how the word was actually constructed historically. So you might want to use that as a trigger to teach, but you can't use that as a proof of how the word was constructed. You need more legitimate proof, and that's not a proof just because it broke down and to make the statement that you wanted to make. If you're doing that, you're doing New York Times though, all the news that fits the print, you know what I mean? But gotta admit though, I do like some country though, you know what I'm saying? And you know I have collections of musicians that would surprise a lot of people. So we're talking about country. I do have quite a large Dolly Parton collection, but fun facts that no one wanted to know, you know what I mean? Universal, I don't get mad at you. Stick to the underground. Filthy pop musicians. That's what they are, a lot Preem. You know what I mean? But Quati's cool. Just asking because when reading, I like to have a hard copy to flip through, but also see the usefulness of a digital copy if one is traveling. Oh yeah, definitely Quatis. Sometimes with dictionary, it is easier to have it on the side. Understand that if you're using your books that I'm sending you, like EPUB and all that, EPUBs to use on Google Books, or even Mobi, Kindle, even on the Kindle, and using your EPUB on Nook is not as good to me. Their app is just not as good. But they all have dictionaries inside, so you can get good dictionaries, and you can always put your notes in there. You know what I mean? Um, and definitely Supreme Nature. There is no other music, right? If we were always underground, though, that means that they are just somewhere in space, right? Lost in space, right? We're not underground. They're just lost in a bad space, right? Yeah, I got a lot of country, Lee. You know, I got a lot of country music, right? sometimes you got to look at music too as well. Um, yeah, definitely. Real hip hop, you funny for that one though. And yeah, 793. I agree with you. I agree with you on that. You know, but I really like to try to collect said classics of different genres just so I could see. And sometimes I don't. I end up not having the palette for it. Like it really sucks to me. I'll give you an example. I have a complete album collect. I'm sure there's a lot of add-ons and other things that they've added, live recordings and all that. I have a complete album collection. All the required albums of the Beatles. But oftentimes when I listen to the Beatles to just do the knowledge, I find them very creative, but also very corny. So you know what I mean? It doesn't always work, right? And SW, there's nothing wrong with that, right? Nothing wrong with that, right? Progressive rock. Yeah, you funny, real hip hop. All right. No disagreement there, Universal. No disagreement there. That's my whole career, right? The underground, the so-called underground, right? Okay, so now we're at the eight. Now I was talking about reviewing some of these plus lessons before I get into the work in progress, which is the word is bond plus lesson. And I was up to number 8 on the justice build, and I said it was the 120 references. You cannot you cannot prove a degree by using another degree. Okay, so that's always a note. On the Instagram, I'm going to go live again. This one is going to expire. They kicking me out. So peace to everyone that's in there. I'm gonna go on again. If you want to keep on here, you want to keep on the YouTube, thank you. Okay. All right. Give me a little moment here so that way I can add this first part. If anybody has any questions, just please add them on in there. Um, anyway, what I was saying was that you cannot answer a degree with a degree, right? Okay, so what was the insight here, right? But the degrees also have to be cross-referenced for more insight. Just like when we cross-reference the existence of the Indians and the knowledge in the student enrollment, then we want to go into the understanding degree in the 1 to 14 and cross-reference that, and it leads us to a bevy of research. So that's very important, though, right? And I said SWV. I knew it was going to happen eventually. SW, Coltrane, Mingus, Miles, Dizzy. Yeah. These are right. Dizzy, Roy Ayers when he gets in vibrant, right? Definitely all useful, right? Definitely all useful. Silver Fox, I have not. Dego is talented, but there is no good reggaeton. There is just passable reggaeton, right? And Tego is would be incredible if he didn't have to do that for sustenance. Right. 793rd was zoning for the past few on how early and mid R&B so heavily jazz was laying a certain foundation. Indeed. Indeed. All right. So I'm typing this in here because I want to get back online on the live. So just give me a moment to type in the details here. All right. So I really don't rely on plus. Universal God, I really don't rely on plus lessons that much. Again, these are my plus lessons. They're just basically putting things simpler, so the things that I share with you and teach you are in. So these are plus lessons that I've written. Okay, these are my own teachings in the classroom. So you may use them as you see fit. If they are not fit, then then you don't use them. All right, real hip hop. You said, what is C in the supreme alphabet? Just C, right? Real hip hop. Detail that. What do you mean you get two definitions of C in the supreme alphabet? Not really understanding what you mean there. Okay. All right. So I'm now live again. All right. Peace to everybody that's out there. All right. They're just, when they get along, they get along. Okay. So I'm not really sure. Oh, El General. Thank you for that one. Since we couldn't get that. Okay. So the last two things in the Justice Build, and again, I'm just reviewing Supreme Mathematics. When you build on a degree, a particular degree, and you're learning it and you're studying it. And again, this Justice Build is not referring to people going out there to build. It is in your own studies. These are a checklist of things to look over as you study. Okay. So you want to cross-reference with the Supreme Math. And the last thing, knowledge add on the side for the last thing in the Justice Build is your understanding. Every time you get to the next degree in your study, you have to take the understanding you have developed of the previous degrees and to see if they really are worthwhile. Okay. So that's really important. Okay. So if anybody has any questions on that, you know what I mean? I'm here. Okay. Another build, another quick run through the justice curriculum. Okay. This one I'm going to run through very quickly. The justice curriculum I had taught was really in the guise of saying that we have to, in order for us to be the true and living, we also have to be out there and really be studying a variety of things. We can't just be so mono and you know, mono inclusive, if that's a word, mono inclusive. I'm making up stuff that might not work here. Okay. C or C literally means to see, the letter C. I don't have that in my math, and I think it's irrelevant because it's really a wrong word, you know, and it's a wrong word to mean the same thing. So, like, let's make up a wrongly spelled word, CEE, to mean the same as SEE, just so we could do what, you know? So, I don't see the point. I really don't. I don't see the point. The point of having this knowledge itself is not so that we could learn and be better at spelling things wrong. Some of the words we have new dialect and new ways that we build, but that doesn't mean that you go around, just let's add new shit, right? And yeah, and Dark Kim is right. Again, when I give my Supreme Math build and my Supreme Alphabet build plus lesson, I keep saying, and it's even written in the introduction to it, I write it very complex. You know what I'm saying? I write it complex because I don't want you to repeating. And in fact, I want you exposed if you just start repeating what I'm saying. So that's important. You know what I mean? Um, right. So that's important, right? You don't want to be a parrot of that. You got to get your own understanding. When I wrote the plus lessons for the Supreme Math and Alphabet, it was more to give you a guideline of how the perspective, some of the history, some historical perspective, and just get you charged out the box to, not necessarily for you to be quoting it though. And again, I wrote it in such a way that if you start quoting what I wrote, you're going to sound like a robot me. You know what I mean? You'd probably be whacker than Action Bronson. You know what I mean? You'd be sounding like me and it would be really whack. You know? If the world appreciates me, I guarantee you they definitely don't want to see two of me. Okay. So the justice curriculum, though, was an even simpler build just to keep us sharp. That there are other subjects and ideas, fields of study to broaden your mindset on all things. Okay. When you go out there, if somebody said that, if somebody noticed that you were God, they would be asking you for things, and they would be asking you about things if they actually bore witness that you were the God. You know what I mean? Sunez 2.0, right? So that means that we have to know about a lot of things. We ought to know a lot about a lot of things. You know what I mean? Is it a prerequisite to quote the entire supreme math and alphabet? You said prerequisite, so a prerequisite to what? Okay, because you should be able to quote supreme math and alphabet. You know what I'm saying? It's okay to start off and know the knowledge and the wisdom degree, the first two degrees in the student enrollment, because if you don't really get that, then you're not really a student. Like, you're not really going to get anything else. You know what I'm saying? Peace to the God supreme. Peace, God. Throwing me the 100. But the justice curriculum was just those subjects that I thought to start with. So it was hygiene, and obviously it's crazy. I picked hygiene as number one, and we're in the pandemic. Two is music, and obviously, you know, and again, one thing I will say about music in general, a lot of the reasons that we study different subjects is not so we could think we know everything, but because